Hi there and welcome to Four Wheels Good on the Men and Motors channel. This week we'll be doing some real driving in Enzo Ferrari's last car, the fabulous F40, and to contrast that we'll be virtual driving in an amazing simulator from Daimler Benz. But first, I've been getting a designer opinion on a designer car. This is the Ford Ka, a car with a personality all of its own. Though you can't help smiling at the bold and witty design touches, has this tiny car got what it takes to make it the style statement of the 90s? It's the result of a fresh approach by Ford stylists, the first example of what they call new edge design. They've named the car Ka, or Ka, spelt K-A, a symbol from ancient mythology, the spirit of life. But has it got the spirit to succeed? Not only is the exterior pretty radical with all its curves and triangles, but the interior design is very different too, with its spherical air vents, circular door panels and bulbous steering wheel. The driving position is pretty comfortable and lots of legroom. Production costs are kept down because there's only the one interior trim colour. There's no question that the car is a design event, so we asked three designers to give it some thought.
Now this I like, the soft flowing lines of this dashboard. Safe, womb-like. The dials, indicators, retro-styled, give a sense of familiarity. Coming down to the air vents, typical down air 50s styling. And then down to the biggest disappointment, the gear lever from a 72 Ford Escort.
It comes in just two versions, the Ka and this one, the Ka 2, with its swivelling storage bin and an option for a CD player. The teardrop dash has only two dials, a speedometer and a petrol gauge, and even the clock makes a style statement.
Well, this is a nice, curvaceous, pretty little car. Lot of sexiness about it, but it strikes me as a car that was sort of developed during the 80s as a fashion accessory for the 90s. Very much a woman's car, touted up to be more than it really is. It looks to me sort of still more like a Ford Fiesta, dressed up to be something more special in a Jean-Paul Gaultier jacket.
The polypropylene bumpers wrap all the way around to meet the wheel arches, and with the wheels pushed right into each corner. Although it's 8 inches shorter than the Fiesta, it rivals it for cabin space, and there's a lot more headroom than the taller Cinquecento. And at the back, all the curved panels have allowed Ford to design what they consider to be the light cluster shape of the future. Although the more I look at it, the more I see an Isetta bubble car from the 60s.
I think the car itself is almost bug-like in its appearance. It looks very squat, and it looks almost as though it's about to pounce out at you. The interior is very organic in its sort of form, and I think it's almost got an alien-like quality. I think the car itself for Ford is very radically different, although I think it's going to have a very feminine appeal.
This car is fun to drive as well as to look at. The platform, gearbox, suspension and 1.3 litre engine are all taken from the Fiesta, but substantial revisions mean the car has a feel all of its own. The steering responds with great assurance, and the balance, the grip and the stability are all very good. And with a top speed of 96 miles an hour and a 0 to 60 time of 13.8 seconds, this car is equally at home in the city, on the motorway or in the country. Because it's very small and lightweight, Ford are emphasising the safety features. They've put a strengthening strut behind the instrument panel, high-strength door beams, and the driver's airbag comes as standard. However, if you want the passenger airbag, that's an optional extra.
This is a car all about messages. The message it gives from the front is nose down to the tarmac, let me pass. And the message it gives from the back is little meek smile, thanks very much. That wasn't half bad, was it?
It starts at £7,820, going up to around £9,000 for the Ka 2, with power steering, electric windows and central locking, and the added extras of the CD player and air conditioning. This is a little car with big features that's been in great demand since its launch in October. Ford can't say how many they expect to sell because they, like the rest of us, are waiting to see if we really will take to its amusing idiosyncrasies. An unusual bug that's getting its teeth into the British market. The research team at Daimler Benz is one of the most innovative in the whole car industry, and as such it's no surprise to hear that they've come up with yet another amazing piece of gadgetry.
Since 1984, tests have been carried out here in the Daimler Benz driving simulator in Berlin-Marienfelde on the driver vehicle environment. However, as a research and development tool, the system differs substantially from training simulators, such as those used, for example, in aviation. The task of the Daimler Benz driving simulator is to adapt the vehicle technology even better to the capabilities and limitations of the human being, so that both vehicles and traffic become even safer. The most important prerequisite for this, the system must reflect reality as precisely as possible. The Daimler Benz driving simulator has at its disposal the most powerful components anywhere in the world to meet these requirements. The synergetic motion system is driven hydraulically and provides a movement space of over 7 meters crosswise and 3 meters lengthwise. The rotational movements turn through up to 33 degrees. The 5-ton dome is moved via 6 hydraulic legs, and since the modernization of the system in 1994, additionally via a highly dynamic transverse cylinder enabling speeds to the side of up to 4 meters per second. This makes possible 100% representational accuracy of the transverse acceleration over the entire cross-section of the road. This is essential especially for side-wind trials or driving maneuvers with a double change of lane. Thus the driver is provided with real acceleration, braking and centrifugal forces, including those in dangerous situations. The driving dynamics computer DEC Alpha 3900 computes in real time the dynamic behavior of the vehicle being simulated. The driver's cabin has the sole purpose of creating realistic surroundings. The cabin has no axles or engine or drivetrain. The vehicle behavior, as well as the kinematics and elastokinematics of the wheel suspension, the springs, the shock absorbers, and the steering forces are specified by the computer. Even parameters such as friction and steering play are included in the simulation. The driver receives his impression of reality via the image computer, which provides a 5-channel 180-degree forward projection and a single-channel 40-degree backward projection on the inside of the projection dome. The image computer computes from these databases the images of the outside view from the driver's perspective, precisely as the driver steers his vehicle through the virtual landscape. This is done in real time with 50 images per second. In addition, light effects such as half-light or night and weather effects such as rain or fog are generated. Obstacles are also possible. Acting together with the driving dynamic system, a sound system completes the impression of perfect reality. The driving dynamics computer transfers the quantities airstream speed, engine speed and load, and the forces of the tires. The dome can accommodate a complete car or truck driver's cabin, whereby the time required to change the driver's environment is less than an hour. All the processes in the dome are monitored and controlled from the control center. The test manager can see the driver on a screen and, if necessary, communicate.
Ja, vielen Dank. Sie können jetzt anhalten und den Motor
The safety systems of the driving simulator are also monitored from the control center. Basically, the research capabilities of the Daimler Benz driving simulator are aimed at 2 test objectives: the vehicle and the driver. What is the behavior in critical situations or when a system fails? What is the acceptance level of new vehicle components? And what are the effects of medication or alcohol? All this can be studied in the driving simulator, scientifically, consistently, and above all, without any danger. A further application of the driving simulator, studying the amount of stress drivers can be subjected to.
Wo wir einen kleinen Sensor angebracht haben.
The objective of this investigation was to test systems that register drivers' tiredness and, if necessary, to warn them not to fall asleep. On the basis of these test results, a better evaluation can be made of the laws affecting people in cars. As an instrument for developing vehicle components, the driving simulator has already become essential. Even before test carriers or prototypes are available, realistic driving trials can be carried out at a very early stage of development with the aim of comparative evaluation of possible vehicle components. Which axle, for example, fares best in a double change of lane, in a slalom, or when driving past the side wind tunnel. Dead ends in development can thus be avoided, and further development work can be continued on a higher level. With so-called hardware-in-the-loop simulations, real-time systems such as ABS, ASR or ESP can be integrated in the simulation process. In this way, it is possible to study driving behavior in relation to control systems of this type. The development engineers obtain information about the acceptance and the functioning of the systems and can work out and specify objectives for further developments of the systems. The optimization of the vehicle technology in relation to human capabilities will in future be one of the main tasks of development engineers. In order to do this, it must be possible to test the effects of new research parameters and also their combined action. And this has to be done as frequently as required, in quick sequence, in a wide variety of traffic situations, and above all, absolutely consistently. With its high performance and the flexibility of its applications, the Daimler Benz driving simulator is an essential instrument for achieving this. Through the data obtained in the simulator, it is possible to build pre-optimized development carriers that, both in research projects and in series-produced vehicles, substantially reduce the development risks and the development time.
Oh, I'd love to have a go on that, but it does look like a gigantic onion on stilts, doesn't it? Well, join us after the break when John Stanley will be tearing down a test track in the Ferrari F40. Welcome back. Now, we all know that John Stanley's driven a few cars in the past and many of them would make anyone green with envy. But today, John gets to drive his dream car. Just watch this.
I'm lucky enough to lead a quite interesting, if complicated, life, and so experience a huge range of privileges. The opening of a Salzburg festival, the opening of a London Royal Academy show, the Madonna sex book party, or Hollywood's Grammy Awards. Even extremes like an old Monty Python premiere or an archbishop's party in his palace to celebrate Mozart. For me, such events have been work, but for others, they suggest real status. In the same, travelling to some is how you travel rather more than where you get there. And in the early years, I certainly used to fly Concorde when the crews themselves got a buzz out of it. And you earn a lot of points if you travel on the Orient Express. All these statuses matter, but nothing, absolutely nothing prepares you for the excitement and the glory of a Ferrari F40. When Ferrari celebrated its 39th year, Enzo requested a brand new model, the ultimate machine, to celebrate the company's great 40th year. Just 12 months later, the 89-year-old unveiled the stunning F40, and it would be the last he would unveil, it would be the last new car he would see before he died, but it made a perfect tribute to his life's work. The goal was to create a race car quality with style and coding from the legendary 250 LM. It was achieved in a single year by basing it on the 288 and elements of the 328, plus F1 technology, which of course they were accruing all the time. It was designed by Pininfarina and built between 1987 and 1990. Initially, it announced that they were just going to have 400 cars and £160,000 each. That was a lot for the time, but it still caused 3,000 requests and deposits. Profiteering, unfortunately, pushed the value of these cars up to £1 million. and so Ferrari increased production to just over 1,000 in order to ease the demand. This is probably the most beautiful body in motoring. It's Pininfarina at its best, and it isn't just pretty, it's aggressive. Every panel oozes a single-mindedness. It only has one intention, and that's to travel fast. Some of the stylings, such as these rear ducts and the fin, are naturally here to help keep that much power on the ground. Under the plexiglass, that is power. That is a devastatingly fast 32-valve twin-turboed V8, enlarged from 2.855 through to virtually 3 in order to deliver a stunning 478 brake horse. Everything about this car is designed for performance. The trim is extremely basic. There are no pretenses of luxury, even though it is an icon. The only privilege you have is you have full air conditioning. And believe me, with an engine as powerful as this behind, you truly need it. There is a key, and the key does deal with the fuel and with the electrics. But the actual engine and the button to another world is this one. Classic Ferrari gearbox. Don't put it in first, it's reverse. Hang on. It is actually remarkably nimble. Although there's not exactly the sort of silence that would allow you to have a CD player, the music itself is all from the V8, all from the twin turbos. The car itself is incredibly light. It's almost the same weight as a Golf VW. Just as Pininfarina's styling gives it all the aggression that one would hope of a sports supercar, so its performance and its manner is the same. It's moody, it's disinterested, it's very listless. Around these sort of revs, we're running at 2 at the moment, it really isn't terribly interested. There are lots of lightweight, smaller sports cars which are a lot more fun. But the moment you put your foot down, the thing becomes suicidal up to about 7,500 revs. There's no pretending in this car. 0 to 60 is in 3.6 seconds, and here we go. That's scary, but it's actually what the F40 does absolutely brilliantly. The brakes, needless to say, are enormous. They're drilled, they're ventilated, they're a huge size, and they're air ducted just to make sure that you do get some kind of stopping power with all this surge. You read write-ups that tell you that it's docile and it's sweet, and certainly if you drive it at these speeds, it will behave itself. But it doesn't enjoy it, and it's rough and it's bumpy. It really only knows one thing, and that is being the fastest Ferrari they've ever made for the road. Well, finally I can add an F40 to my street credentials. The trouble is, not everyone is impressed by the same thing. For some, a little blue Peter badge does just as well.
John Stanley enjoying a fabulous day out. Well, the rest of us can only dream while we change the air filters in our Polos, with a little help from another John, John Wright.
Volkswagen don't specify that you change the air filter. However, I feel that under the dusty conditions that we've got on the M62, that an air filter is a good idea every time you do a lubrication change. We're going to take the air filter casing off, change the 4 spark plugs, and then as we put the air filter box back on again, we'll change the air filter as well. Right, let's get on with it. Let's get rid of that. That's where the plugs are down there. Now, one of the main reasons why Volkswagen can specify 20,000 miles in between a spark plug change, or a full service as they call it, is that they use a triple electrode plug, the BP6ET in NGK references. That's the air filter out. We'll just put that to one side for the minute. Right, now we're going to remove these 3 nuts here to get rid of the filter casing. Right, that's got rid of them. We'll just lift that out of the way. Now, what you've got to be careful of is these little pipes underneath. You're going to make sure that they're reconnected when you put it back on. I've left them off several times. Right, let's just remove these spark plugs. Here we go. Number 1. I'll be able to tell you the Bosch reference in a minute. It's W7DTC. Quite often when you're buying the parts for Volkswagens, people will try and palm you off without giving you the triple electrode plugs. They try and get you the just standard BP60Ss, and if you know the reference, you know what you're getting. We find that they run a heck of a lot better with these triple electrodes. Volkswagens are actually the only injected cars that I know of that run on non-resistor plugs. Everything else, like the Ford injections and even the Ford electronic ignition cars, have a resistor in the plug. Their reference will be BPR something or BCPR something, and it's the R that denotes the resistor. Whether you're in Champion or Bosch or NGK, if there's an R in the reference number, it's a resistor plug. Right, this is the air filter that we bought from the shop earlier. As you can see, comparing it to the one we've taken out, new one's a heck of a lot cleaner. Now, what the air filter actually does is it traps minute dust particles in the air and stops it getting dragged into the combustion chambers and therefore ruining your engine. Right, pop that in and then we'll put the cover on. This aftermarket air filter cost us about £3 or £4, and under a dealer service I think they're about £7 then. And just think of the money you're going to save by doing it yourself.
Well, that's it for this week, I'm afraid. I hope you enjoyed the programme, and I hope to see you next week when I'll be looking at Hyundai's celebrated coupe.